On the day of 25th October, a day filled with probably a lot of interesting news, I don't know, I didn't look, on one of the most obscure videos in the internet, very precisely at 9 p.m. 41, a big random, which is me, posted a comment under a video of a not so random guy to the name of Trash Guy Bob. Now, obviously, it may be the first time you're hearing his name, but if you don't know who he is, he's that guy. Easily one of the most dominant Ultimate Nightmare % player, and also the only one who really tried to speedrun the category as fast as possible, and even got a godlike time of less than 2 hours, which is even more insane when you realize that people already struggle to finish the game simply in Nightmare difficulty in less than 2 hours. Like, it's insane. Oh yeah, by the way, I'm going way too fast. I even forgot to explain what Ultimate Nightmare was. The Ultimate Nightmare is from far the hardest challenge run in all Skylanders. Like, it's complete hell. The challenges restricts you to only using one Skylander, magic items are banned, and this really includes everything you think could make your life easier. And like I said before, it's played on the Nightmare difficulty, from far the hardest difficulty in the game, a difficulty where your HP can melt as fast as against Techno Crow very frequently if you're not careful, and of course, you are not allowed to die or to restart a level unless a crash/softlock occurs. And you're also not even allowed to intentionally press minus or to remove, then send back your Skylander on the portal to invincibility for stuff. This is the insanity of Ultimate Nightmare. And on that night, after discussing for a bit with Trash Guy Bob motivated me to try to challenge myself. Except that what he didn't know is that I was not going to do it with Sunburn or even Drobot, who both are not only very good Skylanders because they can melt the HP of their enemies similarly to how they can, and have good mobility, and etc. They also mainly have the massive advantage that they were already done by other people, so I could just copy their homework and have a much easier time. No. The Skylander I decided to do the run with was Combo. And the reason of why I played Combo is, well, actually you know it already, is because it's my favorite Skylander, and I was confident in his potential. It's time to do a review of Combo. Honestly, Combo, even when I just take the general opinion of the community, is already considered to be a pretty good Skylander, because he can heal and has a very good secondary attack that covers a lot of space. And yeah, let's actually go back on my words a little bit, because that's his first breaking ability, the infinite healing. I don't know why, but the community really seemed to underestimate how OP healing is, and especially when you can do it over and over. Like, just hear what Demacia says.
Being able to heal is still really nice, although on Nightmare mode specifically, there's just so much damage that enemies are doing, you won't really be able to heal all of it.
Like, bro, you really think I'm not going to just wait 5 more minutes to regen back at full health? Oh wait, no, you're talking in combat, true. Honestly, even in combat, it doesn't take long to find a safe spot to regen, or to just run in circles when the enemies are too slow to catch you, even if it's very boring. And yeah, that's why infinite healing is OP on Skylanders, because it makes the game so much less punishing. When you play a Skylander that cannot heal, especially when it cannot also level up, you really need to be careful to not get hit, because food is very few infinite in Skylands, and especially in battle. But when you play a Skylander that can infinitely heal, you can really just not care and take as much damage as you want, while also still being fine. And there's only 3 Skylanders in the entire game that have this ability. But of course then, is that the only quality of Combo? Of course not, and I think it's time to reveal the second thing that made me really want to complete this challenge. It was to prove a point. The Melon Master Path is really one of the most underrated attack paths in the entire series. People really seem to underestimate its damage output, first of all, even though it's literally one of the best in the original cast. Like, yeah, the damage output is crazy because a single tertiary attack sends 8 melons all around Combo that all have massive hitbox and do 60 damage. And also, even if his attack takes time before actually attacking, it doesn't even matter, because there is one thing I forgot to tell you, even though it's super important. Combo is invincible the entire time he's buried into the ground. So basically, the entire duration where the attack doesn't do damage yet, which pretty much completely cancels out the problem. And this invincibility is also super OP. It allows him to cheese so much sections and dodge so much damage he would have took if it was not for this invincibility. And in fact, it's also why Sunburn is very good for the challenge, and yeah, Calmo pretty much has the same thing. And okay, I may have put all my bias when I said that starter sentence. In fact, to be honest, I'm mainly basing this statement off of the main Skylander content creators, who all just straight up didn't say anything bad about this path, but just kind of forgot it existed. And I can understand them, because the Vine Path really overshadows the Melon Master Path, and honestly, I can also understand why, because I would actually say the Vine Path is better. At least on most games. But on Giants, there is two things that really change everything. First of all, the meta of the game isn't in the Vine Path's favor. More precisely, there is two enemies in the game that are a big struggle for this attack path, while I don't think the Melon Master Path struggles against any enemy in particular. The reason is, the main problem of Kamo is that he's just really helpless if the enemies actually get in, because Kamo doesn't have a movement option or a get out of jail free card. So the only way for him to get out of danger is to either run away and pray the enemies don't catch you, or to just kill them. And can you guess which path does better to kill the enemies before they kill them? Exactly! You're actually following the video. Congratulations. And also, I didn't say yet how much the secondary attack exposes you compared to the tertiary attack, because you're sitting still when you're doing it, and it doesn't even have an hitbox right in front of him, making it a much worse attack in close combat. And also, like I said before, there is two enemies that really expose the weakness of this path, and it's the Archean Duelist and the Slobbering Muticus. The first enemy is actually not that bad. You can actually deal with him by just spamming the secondary attack. So it's good then, right? Except when you realize the vines don't push back the enemies, or at least it's very inconsistent. So inconsistent, in fact, that it sometimes even pulls them towards you when you're doing an attack where, again, you're sitting still and that doesn't even have an hitbox right in front of him. So if it happens, you are getting hit by an attack that does almost 3/4 of your health. And where this attack path really falls apart, it's when you realize the primary attack already does all the job. This attack actually always pushes the enemies back, and because of this, even though on paper it's meant to be much weaker, the damage output is probably as good as the secondary attack, and it kills the enemies pretty easily. And also, it's consistent, so yeah, definitely the thing you want to do. And as you may know, the primary attack doesn't change depending on the path. And so, what about the Melon Master Path then? Is it good against the Archean Duelists? Well, you definitely won't use it to kill the Archean Duelists directly, it's still way too risky, but it works well as a panic option that can allow you to quickly kill them and save yourself if they actually get close. And I haven't even talked about the Slobbering Muticus. It's simple. The Slobbering Muticus, at least when you kill his rider, is literally impossible to camp. Because when you kill this rider, he's gonna start doing one attack where he gets to you at Mach speed and does a swipe that does a shit ton of damage. And again, you may have guessed that the attack path that relies on the enemy not getting to him will struggle against this enemy, while the attack path specialized in close combat will do much better. And here, it's actually real, because, spoiler alert, but the best strat I found against the Slobber Muticus was to kill them as fast as possible once their rider is off, because they sometimes don't even have the time to attack me if I'm fast enough. But you may have guessed it's only possible with the Melon Master Path. So yeah, actually, the Vine Path, which is meant to be at least better on normal fights compared to the Melon Master Path, since it struggles so much against these enemies in the late game, honestly, the Melon Master Path may already be the better path for the challenge, even on normal sections, because the sections where the Vine Path is better are on the easier sections anyways. But now, let's talk about the other sections, because of course, when I'm talking about the normal sections, I'm talking about every fight that's not a boss fight. So now let's talk about the boss fights. And I think it's actually where Kamo is the most impressive. Because Kamo, on the Melon Master path, may actually be the best Skylander against the bosses of giants. He can kill Brock in seconds with the right setup, he can cheese through the bullet hell of Chomping Mage with his tertiary attack, and he can even do a lot of damage on him, even though it's risky. He actually kind of struggles against the Jawbreaker. By the way, I know he's called the Brute, but who cares? It's not surprising though, seeing how he's a skinny boy, so the damage output is actually very bad against him, but it's not that hard if you're just a little bit careful actually. The Drill combo can disintegrate in minutes. The Night Guy, I've never died against him, even though it always drags on for long. And finally, Chaos is probably the most impressive, because guess who's used in speedruns to kill Kamo as fast as possible? Exactly. And it's also the most impressive boss because I'm very confident Kamo is really the only Skylander that can do it like that, like it's that good. And so, now that the presentation was made, time to talk about my story that led me to win this challenge. The very first attempt, well, I actually have no footage of, I literally lost it, which is kind of sad, I guess. Although it kind of makes sense too, since this attempt was performed so early compared to the rest. I can't remember exactly when I did it. I remember it was made in March or in June of last year, and at the time, this attempt wasn't a very serious one. It was just to see if I could win without training at all. I definitely wasn't knowing how deep of a rabbit hole I would jump into with this challenge. All you need to know about this attempt is that it went all the way to chapter 8, which is actually pretty impressive for a first attempt, and then died at the section right after breaking the cannon because I didn't go instantly in and died from the grenades of the generals. I left the rabbit hole pretty quick though, as I've already said, since I didn't do another attempt for months, all the way until middle of October. If you remember well, this is in fact a very important period because this is the time where I talked to Trash Guy Bob about the challenge. But if you remember even more, you may have also seen I told Trash Guy Bob I did 2 attempts. And yeah, I in fact did an attempt 4 days before sending that comment. And again, it was very similar to my very first attempt. This attempt was not a very serious one too. And in fact here you can even see it more clearly with the hat I was wearing. Because if you didn't know, the best hat in the game is from far the Night Hat. It's really the obvious choice to do the run. But it's a hat that you can only unlock, at least in Giants, by beating the game in Nightmare difficulty. And so yeah, it really shows how I was not experimented with the challenge. And I again died very early on chapter 6. And after that death, again, I didn't put any attention into the challenge until that day where I sent that comment to Trash Guy Bob. And this time, I actually trained for the challenge. I mean, I didn't train that much. I actually just completed the game in Nightmare difficulty to get a taste of every level, and I retried the arcane levels over and over so I could do them consistently, thinking very naively that these levels would be the only challenge. I love me. And so, after almost 5 full days of training, I did my first serious attempt. And I arrived all the way to chapter 10. It was a respectable PB, but I knew I could do much better. And since at the time, I actually had an entire week left of spare time, I did another attempt every next day. And it started my first long streak of failed PBs, because literally all these next attempts did not PB, and it was probably the most frustrating period for me to live. Embarrassing deaths after embarrassing deaths. I was getting bullied by the middle game, dying over and over again. At the end of this very unproductive period, I sent my best attempt to Trash Guy Bob, which was still attempt free, and it ended this very tiring period. From now on, I would only do attempts every weekend, which definitely stretched the timeline a lot. Although, we don't need to go that far to find my next PB, since literally the next attempt, on attempt 9, I made it all the way back onto chapter 10. And this time, I really did not want to lose. I quickly had the habit to just watch some YouTube videos in the background for easier sections, because I didn't want it to use all of my focus and attention on the easier sections to then get caught off guard once it gets just a little bit harder. And that's exactly what I did all the way back on attempt 3. I really thought that once I made it for chapter 9, I could rest until chapter 12. I really underestimated the chapter, and more specifically, the final section. Also, I had changed my strategy, since my original strategy was to kill the big guys and then sit on the corridor to safely regen back at full health and then just finish the level. Since when I played through the level in Nightmare difficulty for the first time, I did this strategy and it worked. But then I realized that it was probably just more simple to just finish the level, and it was my new plan. And so, this time, with all my focus, I easily made it through the... Oh wait, no, my bad. It was still a PB though, since last time I didn't even throw a single bomb, and this time I managed to throw 3. I was literally 1 bomb away from finishing the level, but at the very end, I get a little impatient and run straight into the bomb, get hit by it, and then get pushed straight into the Goliath row, which was obviously charging towards me, and I died. But honestly, even though the death was very tragic, I was still proud of the attempt, since I finally got a PB. And the next attempt, well, another death on chapter 6. And it was an interesting one, because I actually completed the chapter, and then the game crashed, so I had to complete it again, and well, this time I died. And so, even though you may have thought I was super mad, I was actually feeling okay, since, yeah, at least I proved I could do the chapter before dying. And so, overall, that was a pretty good first weekend, with a PB, and an attempt where I at least managed to prove I'm not bad at the game. And the next week, I was ready to do another big PB. At this point, I really found a recurring pattern with my PBs. They would always happen a week after I didn't do an attempt at all. And it kind of makes sense too, because after all, on these attempts, since it has been a bit of time since I played the last game, I was probably less sick of it and more careful in consequence. And so, on the 17th November, after only 11 attempts, I did my worst attempt yet. And yeah, this time I was especially mad at myself, and actually starting to lose hope. Oh my god, I hate me. I think I'm never gonna do this challenge, actually. I think I'm never, ever gonna complete it. And like, as you can saw, I'm getting rustier, and I'm getting less patient, and I'm starting to, not enjoying this challenge anymore. Like, literally, it's just like, it's not even like I'm saying this because it's super unfair or something. It's literally just the philosophical phenomena of you've been doing a thing for so long that you're starting to get less fun out of it, and so it's just kind of what I'm getting at this challenge. It's just like, I was literally more than 10 attempts deep into the challenge and didn't even make it to the arcane levels yet. And I was also very confident my next attempt wouldn't do better. But the next day, I still started a recording. And this time, I also decided to do things slightly differently. Instead of watching YouTube videos in the background, I would just play some cup music in the background to keep me focused at any time. So yeah, just don't be surprised if the music is not normal. And on that attempt, oh boy, I made it past chapter 6, then 7, then 8, then 9, made it all the way back to the final section of chapter 10, and let's try and do some big small circles. Anyways, what the fuck? What the fuck did he just say? Some big small circles, what am I saying? Oh wait, this could be it, come on. Please, please, please. No! That would have been it, that would have been it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Come on, come on, come on! Yes! Oh my god! Oh my... Oh. I finished chapter 10. We're finally getting to see some new territory. And then I made it past chapter 11, and then past chapter 12, and then past chapter 13. This attempt was crazy. I wanted a massive PB, and that's exactly what I got. I could finally taste the arcane chapters. But in this attempt, I was also getting very tired too. Like, just hear me! Just hear how bad of a state I was in. Bro, like I swear, if my mother shows up, I'm not even gonna recognize her because I'm so tired. It really shows up about the tiredness I'm in. Yeah, like really, literally, if my mom's like bangs on my door and says, "Oh my God, you're talking too loud," I'm just gonna go like, "Who are you?" And so, despite my disbelief and my want for more, I end up dying on the next fight where I get caught off guard. It was still, of course, a legendary attempt that completely turned me back alive, and I also knew how to improve since, again, I really died because of how tired I was. So for the next times, I actually took breaks before every hard section so I could actually be fully focused for them. And, well, it seemed to have worked since on the next attempt, I got back on chapter 14. And this time, it was actually very easy. I got a few close calls but made it through without much trouble. And I moved on to chapter 15, knowing it was the final challenge. But did I beat it? Did I check myself? Oh wait, is that it? Oh my god. I really just put every juice left in Kamo's kits to get out of there. No. Still though, 2 PBs in a row was crazy. Like, spoiler, but it was the only time it happened. And also the only time I made it twice to the European chapters in a row. And it's even crazier looking how far they got compared to how not far the 2 attempts before made it. The future was looking very good. And so, without much surprise, the next attempt made it all the way to chapter 9. God damn it. F this. Ah, no, my spirits! And then, the next attempt, I died on chapter 9. But then, the next attempt, I died on chapter 9 again? What the fuck? I pressed it 3 times with this. 3 times in this chapter in a row! What the fuck? As you may have guessed, I was not happy. Especially since, of course, after losing twice in a row in the same section, I actually changed my strategy to do this hard section that we'll definitely come back to very easily. I executed it perfectly, but then I somehow get hit by the Jawbreaker boss, which makes me lose almost all of my health, so I run away to the food to regen, and of course with great timing it's also exactly the moment where the grenade generals jump into the arena, so no catching landings for me, I guess. And then a ninja grenade removes all the health I got back from the food, and a second one somehow bounced on a live spell punk to get exactly at my location. I tried to tertiary attack in the end, but too late, and I die. Now again, I was very mad after dying, so mad in fact, that I decided to start another attempt in the middle of the night. I was that mad. I really didn't want the weekend to end on this. So I did, and I was very right to do this attempt because I actually passed chapter 9. Although this attempt was not a PB, I died on chapter 12. Still though, it was definitely a very important attempt for me that definitely brought back the hope I lost. And the 2 next weeks were actually very similar, with 2 first attempts that died very early, respectively on chapters 7, 10, 9, and 3, and then ended on a very good attempt, the one from the first week being chapter 12. And on that period, even though it was the longest streak of attempts without PBs, that's when I really started to notice something. At first, I kept dying on chapter 6, but then I got consistent at it. And then I kept dying at chapter 9, but then I got consistent at that too. And spoiler alert, but then after this, I would keep dying at chapter 12, and well, I didn't really get consistent at this chapter in the end, but it's mainly because I actually got my winning attempts before getting consistent at it. So you get the point. You can really see how I was getting more and more consistent over time. And so even though the attempts stacking up more and more like that would seem like something bad, it may actually be the path I'm building to the winning attempt. And so in that period, you can actually really say it was the first time I knew I could do the challenge. And how better to prove that than to look how far I made it on that third attempt of the second week. Oh yeah, finally, I was back there. And like on attempt 13th, I casually make it through chapter 14th. But do I make it through chapter 15th though? No. And this one was even sadder. I'll come back to it later, but just know that I was omega close from finishing the chapter, but then just barely died at the end. No! No, oh my god, this... No, god damn it. Still though, since last time I didn't even made it to this part of the fight, it was actually a PB. So I can be happy for that. And then it was the Christmas holidays, so I had another 2 free weeks for the challenge. But actually, I didn't do much attempts on that period. I did an attempt on December 22 and even on December 24, but then I stopped doing attempts for almost 3 weeks. The reason for it is that I was working on a big project at the time and took an entire week on the Christmas holiday, and I also did Christmas, which took the rest of the space. And then when I was finished with that, I just wanted to take a break in general, so I did. But finally, on the 12th of January, I came back to do attempts. And well, of course it had to happen. Can you imagine being that close from BBing already? Even though you did not do this challenge for almost 3 weeks? But again, I didn't make it through the fight. I swear I improved on it and even optimized my strategy, but I guess not enough? No! Of course! Oh my god, how did I miss again? Bro, again, a third time. How did I miss it? Bro, like I swear on my bro, I swear on my training attempts, none of this BS happens. Like literally, I did a warm-up round on chapter 15 before doing this attempt, and it went so well. Like none of the enemies got to me. This was literally just bad luck. At this point, it's literally just bad luck. And so, remember when I told you I was feeling like I was getting more consistent? Was I right? Well, yeah, since on that period, you can really see I was in my ultimate form, since literally all my attempts since attempt 23 made it at least to chapter 12. I was that consistent. And at this point, I really knew I could beat the challenge at any point. And after another death on chapter 12, that may exactly be what I'm about to do. It is now time for me to tell you the story of attempt 28. The early game of Giants, without much surprise, is very easy. You may have expected the devs to actually make these chapters hard, or at least as hard as the middle and late game chapters, since it is a difficulty you literally cannot get before beating the game at least once, but no. And so, from chapter 1 to 5, I know there is no trouble at all. I've not only done these chapters so many times, I also know that I was impatient multiple times, but it never killed me. And I've also literally never died on these chapters. Except on attempt 22. But, you know, even if it happens, it's not like it's a super long to restart an attempt anyway, so I can just do that, and then, yeah, you know what happened after it. And so, without much surprise, I casually make it to chapter 6. And as you know, that's actually the first chapter that made me lose attempts. In fact, if you remember well, you know I died 5 times on this one chapter. But if you remember even more well, you also know that most of these were very old attempts. I mean, literally the last time I died on this chapter was on attempt 11. So 12 attempts and 2 months ago at the time of the attempt. And yeah, over time, I've gotten very good at this chapter by optimizing the sections I would sometimes die in. And on most sections of the level now, I play very patiently and slowly. Most of my strategies now actually are based on forcing 1v1s, especially in the Arcane Jousters, because it's so much safer than fighting all the enemies at once. And I also avoid fights a lot. Like, these are definitely my 2 primary strategies. To avoid fights if I can, but if I have to do them, then just play as safe as possible. It's definitely the base logic I use for pretty much every fight in the game. Still though, chapter 6 is definitely not easy. It's always the first time where I actually unmute and focus for a bit, because I know it's a chapter where I can die if I mess up my strategies. What the? Oh, I'm gonna die. If I die, I completely deserve it. Just know it. No, please, it has been It has been years since I've died on this chapter. I cannot die. I completely choked though. How am I good? How am I good? How am I still good? Run away! No, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead. Wait, what? How am I good? I don't deserve it. What? How am I? I played so badly. I don't deserve to be good right now. I don't deserve to be good. So yeah, we can definitely say Chapter 6 is a good introduction for the hard part of the game. And without much surprise, despite this close call I got, I still make it through the chapter. Then we move on to Willikin Village, which is actually a very easy chapter for the most part. It's just one of these chapters that can be broken so easily if you know it well, thanks to the switching between worlds mechanic. And it's not surprising to see the only hard part is when you can't do that. Because it is true I died twice towards the end of the level, and the two sections are interesting to talk about. The first one introduces something very important for the challenge, what I will call skill checks. Skill checks are sections that you just cannot cheese at all. Sections that you can't strategize on, you have to do them the normal way. I wouldn't say all of them are automatically super hard sections, but if you are not feeling good on the moment, you can actually die on them. And it's exactly what happened on attempt 18. This first skill check definitely is an introduction to the concept. It's not the hardest one, but it is difficult because on the final section of the last battle, you are faced against not one, but two Bark Demons that will keep on sending projectiles and there is no place to run away. Thankfully for Combo, he can actually block the branch with his melons, but it's still not free. Because, yeah, of course, one of them can break it and then the other one can hit you. It's a very stressful sections where I need to have very good timing and positioning to dodge the projectiles until one kills the other and then it's very easy to finish the last guy. But still, these first 30 seconds are always stressful, that's for sure. And then there's Chompy Mage. Now, as I've already said, Chompy Mage is very easy, but I did die once on him all the way back on attempt 4 because I got hit by the big Chompy and then by the Bull of Hell. But now, I know I can invincibility for this Bull of Hell, so this death will literally never happen again. And the death on Chompy Mage in general will definitely never happen again too. He's just too easy, even if he can deal a lot of damage. And now that chapter 7 was beaten, it was time for the first trio of hard chapters. Yeah. Because if you thought that the Arcane Chapters is the only trio of hard chapters, just know that it's not true. Because there is the trio of chapters 8, 9, and 10 that we'll just call the middle game trio. And just know that it has no reason to be ashamed when compared to the Arcane trio. In fact, I died a total of 10 times on this trio of chapters and only a total of 4 times on the Arcane trio. So let's start by chapter 8 then. Honestly, chapter 8 is not that bad. In fact, I only died twice on this chapter, all the way back on attempt 1 and 7. But I still need to keep all of my attention on it, and for a very interesting reason too. Because this chapter works in the opposite way of most other chapters. Most other chapters, you would want to play very safe and slow on them, but for this one, for some sections at least, it's actually much better to quickly go in before the projectiles overwhelm you, especially for the grenade generals. So yeah, it definitely requires some focus and attention, but overall, I made it through the chapter pretty much every time, and that time was no exception. And we're moving on into chapter 9. As you know, 9 is very well known to be a very evil number in some places, and I guess it is for Giants 2 now, since this chapter is at least the third hardest chapter in the game, maybe second. I mean, it's the Chaos Castle after all. Would you expect an easy time? But that hard though? I was not expecting that. Honestly, most of the chapter is very easy. There is the interior fight that will probably cause some trouble for some of you, but when you're playing as this character that can infinitely heal, and when you realize the fight is flooded with safe spots, it's not that bad actually. The only hard section is at the end where I need to quickly get some fast kills, or else we'll have no safe spot to stand at anymore. But since I also know I need to do that, that makes it easy, and outside of this, it's super easy, and I never died on this battle. But the arena battle is a completely different story. And as you may know, I died 5 times on this one section, making it from far the section I died the most on. Yeah, literally, if you're wondering already, the chapter where I died the most times on is actually tied with 3 different chapters, being chapter 6, 9, and 12. And so, I died 5 times on all of these chapters, but literally, outside of this fight, I never died more than 3 times on one section in the rest of the game. And by the way, I kind of have a recurring pattern with my best attempts to overall have the worst fights. It always feels like I got destroyed on so much fights, and yet it's also one of the only times I made it to chapter 15 as an example. So it was very refreshing to have a crazily good performance on this fight. The first round is pretty trivial, especially if you remember well where the enemies will jump off, and of course, I do. And I even managed to accidentally make one of the trolls stuck under the arena, which gave me plenty of time to place myself on the right side to catch the next landings. It's already insane. And then, at the end of the round, thanks to this troll making me wait seconds more than usual, I actually make it in perfectly in time for a specific cycle. Yeah, because basically, to make sure the platforms are placed properly for a strategy at the start of the second round, I always make sure to finish the first round after a specific cycle, so I'm sure it's gonna work. But here, I didn't even need to wait. And so, we can start the second round, where, like I said, I make a strategy because this part right here is usually the most dangerous section in the fight. There is a big tank shooting at you, grenade generals shooting at you, and these are even worse because they force you to go on their own island and to traverse a very unsafe bridge twice, at least if you can hit them from far, of course. Also, did I tell you you can take a ton of falling damage and they can easily get pushed off? But when you know all this is coming though, well, what if you actually wait the grenade generals on their own platform? And also Kamo can literally invincibility for the falling damage. And also it doesn't even matter since I regen the falling damage after landing anyways. And now there is literally just a big tank to deal with, and it's surprisingly much easier. And then the rest of the fight is easy again, at least until the boss. As I've already said, the boss is actually not easy for Kamo like the rest, and I actually died twice against him. Both of them being my latest deaths, by the way. But there is a reason I told you the performance I did on this fight was insane. Honestly, I'll just show you the footage. Yes, he glitched! Insane, 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 insane. You freaking glitch, let's fucking go, this is the best day of my life. I'm just gonna keep doing it. I'm just gonna keep doing this. But I know he's not gonna get regen. Please, don't punch, please. No, he's gonna... Okay, I just have to kill these guys. Oh no, I didn't. Oh, I suck. I suck. I suck. I suck. I'm a big ass. What? Oh, I killed him. Ooh, that was kind of scary. I could have gotten destroyed, but we're good. This section was crazy. I literally did not get hit once, outside of 1 damage that I take pretty much every time anyways. And that's how I make it for chapter 9, and make one of the hardest sections in the challenge look like is still one of the hardest sections in the challenge. And now, we move on to the last chapter of the trio. The one who was the barrier for my first PBs, and still a hard chapter now. Despite only totaling 3 deaths, it's chapter 10, Aerial Attack. Similarly to other chapters, most of the chapter is easy, and in fact, it's pretty boring too, because I use some strat that take a very long time to work, and yeah, the only real section that caused me some trouble that's not the end would be the Azert sections, where I actually died on one of my attempts, so now I just try to be more careful when I get here, and didn't die here on this attempt. And so we can move on to the final section, I guess. The final section of chapter 10 is the second big skill check of the run. Like I've already said, I've technically changed my strategy over time, but it's really just dodging projectiles until all of your problems go away. Like, my strategy is literally to just beat the level. And I guess to also play very safe when catching the bombs by always doing some big circles. I feel like this section always has something recurring too, where I always think I'm gonna die on it because I take a big hit, but then I do some even bigger circles and manage to regen the health I lost. Anyways, let's just look how it went on this attempt. Where the fuck is he? No! I'm dead! Help me! I'm good. Oh yeah, this part is so stressful. Like every single time on this section, I think I'm gonna die, and yet I actually always make it. Yeah, unbroke record so far. Insane. Yeah, it went on for a little bit long. This section literally lasted just a bit above 10 minutes long. But chapter 10 is done. And then we move on to chapter 11, a chapter I've literally never died on. Like, it's just one of these chapters that they are a little hard, but not a lot. And we move on to chapter 12. Going into chapter 12, I knew this was the last wall before the arcane chapters. And honestly, I also knew my odds of winning weren't great, since I only made it through the chapter 4 times, but died 5 times on it, with the last death being literally the attempt before. It was not a good moment to mess up. The first fights are still the easiest part in the chapter. Like most times, there is some annoying stuff I guess, but nothing ever killed me on past attempts, and I casually make it through here too. I guess we can talk about the first slobbering Moticus encounter, since it's actually a good introduction to the enemy. I really need to kill him as fast as possible, right before the general grenades appear, so the rest is easy. And it's definitely a good warm-up round to kill this enemy as fast as possible, since I may need to do that, but even harder a little later on. Talking about it, this little later on is literally right now, since after literally 2 easy sections of fights you can cheese, it's time for another skill check. And it's fun to see how it's very similar to the Wilken Village one. Fighting this enemy alone is already annoying, so fighting 2 of them with no place to run away is definitely not easier. And so I died twice on this fight. And on this fight, I also need to focus on my positioning and my timing like in Wilken Village. My plan, more specifically, is to try to do the same damage on both enemies, so that they both get their rider off at the same time. Because really, if one of them does the attack that slows me down, and the other one does the attack where it goes to my position at Mach speed to kill me, it's just not going to work. Although, to be honest, I always miss it, and this run was no exception. I just barely managed to kill them before they kill me. And then there's the Azard sections where I died once in, and if you're wondering, I tried to build up a strategy to never die in here again, but I mean, it doesn't work well, so I guess my real strat is just to make it through. And then there's the arena battle, a section I've died twice on, and it definitely scares me a lot. What's funny is that I'm actually not going to go in detail much, but just know the main danger and the main saving of the arena battle is the saws. I use them to kill the big enemies, and sometimes I can even break their pathfinding with it, and so they get stuck on the other side while I can shoot at them, but they can also kill me if I'm not careful. And yeah, then the rest is pretty obvious. It's really a matter of knowing when and where the enemies will jump down so I can kill them as fast as possible. We've already seen this multiple times. The hardest part is obviously round 2 since it's where my 2 deaths come from. But then, when it's done, I can really just kill the enemies with the center saws, and then the boss is easy, done. And now, I can finally breathe for a bit again, since chapter 14 is easy, and I never died on it. You may have guessed it's one of these chapters you can make so much easier when you know what path to take, but here it's even easier than you think, since literally, if you cannot remember what to pick, just go right. Like, literally, on every single choice, the easier choice is the right door. You can check by yourself if you want, but just know you always want to go right. I guess there is one slightly hard section, but that's really all I need to go through. And now we move on to chapter 14, one of the Archean chapters. Oh no, it's gotta be super difficult. No. Literally, outside of this one death I got, the chapter is really not hard if you just have projectiles and practice it enough, since you always have space to get a ton of distance to safely kill the enemies. Except for one fight, I guess, but honestly, even on this fight, the distance you're given is still good enough. And the ending section, like, bro, you would expect something hard, and while it may still be the hardest section, this section is underwhelmingly easy. Like, you can camp out every enemy. And so, without much surprise, I make it for chapter 14. But, even though everything seemed to go perfectly, as I was about to finish the chapter, disaster happened. Okay, so, this is really awkward. So basically, I'm gonna explain what happened. Yeah, so basically, yeah, that's what happened. I literally just accidentally unplugged my PC. It's gonna be so cringe. Yeah, so I think my run will not get verified, but I mean, let's just end it. Oh my god, bro, yeah, it's gonna be so cringe. It's actually gonna be so cringe. I'm gonna finish the run. I'm not even gonna be happy. You know, I won't even be able to pop off, because I know my run will not get verified. I literally just accidentally turned off my computer. I accidentally unplugged my fucking thing, my fucking power strip, and it turned off everything, and the recording shot, and it's literally done. It's literally donezo. Like, even though the recording's saved, I know the fucking verifiers will not. Oh, it's so gonna be so cringe. Yep, that's awkward. It's very sad, because the main thing I would have liked to do after finishing the challenge was to have my run on speedrun.com, but now there was no chance the run was getting verified. Not even because I could have easily split it, but simply because there was no way to know the official time now, because we don't know how much time happened between the two recordings. But what's interesting is that I was actually not that mad. The first reason is that since the stakes were much lower, I knew the pressure would also be scaled down. And second of all, after this happened, I knew it was going to be the run. Like, I was really feeling that, of course, the one run that lives something like that will also be the one that actually wins. Like, because of course, it has to be that dumb. But obviously, we'll have to see this with chapter 15. Chapter 15 is definitely the hardest chapter in the game. It's not only very difficult, of course. I mean, it's a chapter I've died 3 different times on, despite it being the chapter I've done the most from far in training sessions. But also, because it comes so late, it indirectly makes it even worse, because you have to do every hard challenge before it, so it's less grindable. And finally, it probably has the hardest fight in the game. But we'll come back to it later. As usual, the first fights are easy, and then we arrive at another skill check, and the last one too, and it doesn't disappoint. Although technically I have found optimizations, because I can actually get a kill before entering the arena, and then after jumping down, I can also try to not load the Arcane Sniper instantly to get some safe damage. But for the rest of the fight, there's nothing cheesy I can do. I just have to run away from the Arcane Duelist a lot. All of this while dodging the sniper shots. Because the sniper is super annoying, I always try to kill him quick with a semi-risky tertiary attack, and on this attempt, I managed to kill him pretty cleanly. Although it did take me almost a minute before doing it, but I mean, I didn't get hit at all, so it was very fine. And now, I just have to do the rest of the fight. die actually. This would be awkward. Like, really, what even ever at this point? I'm ready to die on anything. Maybe I'm not even gonna be mad. Oh, that's not over actually somehow. I don't know how, but... Please die. No. Let's go. Nice. That was scary, but we're good. And after a bit of a teaser fight, we get into the last fight of the chapter. Okay, going back on my sentences, I actually don't think it's for sure the hardest fight in the challenge, but it's easily the most complex and also the most inconsistent. So yeah, it is actually the hardest. This fight, I could honestly do an entire video on. Like, it's insanely complex, especially when you open the option of the Skylander you're going to use, because I actually did this fight with a lot of different Skylanders, and they all have slightly different variations, but we'll just see how Combo does it. Okay, so first of all, before even starting the fight, and in fact, much earlier in the level, I will throw a bomb all the way to the barrier to break it. This will allow me to bring the football into the fight and will obviously make it much easier. By the way, I would like to thank Trash Guy Bob for the trick. I don't know if he actually found him himself, but I discovered it by watching one of his runs, so thank you. Okay, and then, still before starting the fight, I will open this gate. The reason is, I'm about to get chased down this hallway, so of course, I mean, it's better if it's opened. And also, it is better to also place the blocks like this. I'm not going to explain why, because, I mean, I'm about to use it anyways. And so, I finally go into the battlefield, kill the sniper instantly, and then I hit one Shark Pincher, make him chase me down the hallway so I can block kill him, and so that's why I set it up like this, by the way. And then I hit the other one, and this one I can usually just kill normally because he's so further away, it takes so much more damage. Also, before doing the last part, I'm also going to kill an Arcane Shield Duster. Although this I could do any point in the fight, but just know that it turns out that by going on this circle here, and by placing myself on a very goofy way, I can just barely touch him and kill him. It's so close, in fact, that I can't do the same for the Arcane Duelist. I really tried, but no, impossible. And then, after doing this, I'm going to set up the football. Because the big problem with Combo is that, again, he's not fast at all. He doesn't have a movement option. So he can't push the ball very efficiently to get the kills, or at least that's what I think. Honestly, I didn't test. So what I do instead is that I place it on the slope so I can easily push it down to the enemies. And it's also because that's where I'm going to do the fight. And so, after killing the Charmander, who's pretty much defenseless if I don't suck complete ass. By the way, I would also like to note out there is also a strat where you chuck the Truck Pincher he sends out, and then the Charmander is completely defenseless. I didn't do it here because it doesn't lead to anything, and it would have been more annoying with the football, but just that you can do it, because it's very practical for some Skylanders that can hit the enemies, but only when they're on the battlefield, because it makes the battlefield a safe place for as long as you want. So yeah, if you want to do the challenge, just know you can do that. And then, that's where it gets complicated. My strat is to try to make them stuck here, and if they actually do get stuck, then I can safely kill them with tertiary attacks. But it's so inconsistent, it seems like they always get to me. But if they do get to me, I have a backup strat. I can just hide behind the football, the Arcane Duelist will die, and as for the Shield Juggernauts, well, hopefully I can just push the ball down the hallway so they die? I mean, they're pretty thick, it's pretty much guaranteed to hit them, and if there's only one Shield Juggernaut left, it's pretty much GG. Okay, and now, let's see how every attempt has died on this part. On attempt 13th, it's simple. At the time, my strategy wasn't fully developed yet, I had just discovered the football trick, and like a dumbass, I instantly went in, which made me stuck inside the arena. And it was very bad, of course, because I couldn't really set up the football in peace, and also, I had no plan, so I improvised it. And I'm pretty sure that's where I got my slope placement idea. I tried to place it on the slope, but then get hit twice by the surprise clap from the pinchers. And, okay, it's actually not a surprise clap, it's just that when they do the clap and then you hit them, they stop the animation for a bit, and then decide they want to do the attack anyways. And I'm pretty sure it's even faster than the normal clap. But, yeah, so I get hit twice by this, and I die. Attempt 23 was even sadder. Like, just watch. The walls are broken too, so... What? 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 Wait, what? Yeah, I didn't break the wall. It's not even that I forgot to. It's just that for some reason, when I threw my bomb to break the wall, it made the explosion sound, but the wall was still there. And of course, I didn't notice. I just assumed the wall was broken because I heard the sound. And so that explains my reaction. Still though, I kept going. In fact, I already knew the footballer strat by heart since I started by doing the level with this and then added the football part when I discovered the trick. And in fact, I arrived at the final part with only 2 Archean Shield Juggernauts left. I shot them multiple times. I'm pretty sure they were actually so close from dying, which is why I said before the attempt was super close from making it out of chapter 15. But then this happens. Now, it may have looked like I reacted as slow as a sleeping snail, but if you've played the game enough, you probably know the reason behind it. The reason is that I was actually trying the entire time to get on a position where I could hit both Archean Shield Juggernauts, because you can actually infinite them by mashing A on their face. Or at least, that's what I thought. But this guy did his laser anyway, and I didn't realize it, so I died. I'm pretty sure the reason it didn't get infinited is that Skylanders Giants has different variations of enemies. Enemies will have more health than others from the same species, and some will literally do different attacks. And so, I think that in the Code of Giants, there is at least 2 different Shield Juggernauts. One that you can't infinite, that we'll call the Scaredy Shield Juggernaut, and the other ones that you can't infinite, that we'll just call the normal one. And so, on this fight, I assumed every Shield Juggernaut was a Scaredy one, but I guess no? Or I was just too close, because I actually have multiple clips of people infiniting every Shield Duster, and it is true that the one that didn't get infinited was also slightly closer to me, so I actually have no idea. Anyways, all I need to know is that I got surprised and didn't react in time, which killed me. And for attempt 26, it's easily the saddest of all of them. I executed this strategy perfectly. It's literally what I showed as an illustration the entire time. But at the very end, the Archean Duelist gets to me, I do the worst tertiary attack in the world and get hit once, so I panic, I run to my football, he dies, but then the Shield Juggernauts get to me, I push the football but it misses both and I barely make it out alive, and then I don't notice this Shield Juggernaut doing the melee attack because he's slightly covered by the other guy, and I die. Again. So, again, I will just show you how it went on attempt 28. How do you not break what he always does? That was cool. We just finally passed chapter 15. Finally, I made it. But let's analyze a little bit what happened now. Okay, so first, The setup definitely didn't go well. Somehow the sniper didn't break like it always does, and also I accidentally hit the truck bender, so there was a big truck pincher out. Yeah, by the way, I know they're actually called different when they're big, but shut up, I'm lazy. I don't want to correct my text. Anyways, outside of that though, and also me failing the football setup multiple times, so it actually took minutes off of my life, I actually still make it to the second part with all the chances on my side. And then I try to do the strat again and instantly get a hit. So I need to instantly switch to my backup strat. Great. I then managed to stay hidden behind the football for a long time, for almost 30 seconds to be more precise, but a shield juggernaut gets to me, and I actually managed to hit him. By the way, let me show you the similar clip from Attempt 26 very quick. Can you see the difference? Yeah, exactly. Which side I put the football on was the one difference between the losing attempt and the winning attempt. It's so dumb. And then I killed European Julius that was waiting for me, and there's only one shield duster left. I then tried to infinite him again, and just get punished, barely living at 58 health points. So literally, if it was not for these precious seconds of healing, and the pizza that the first Archean shield duster dropped, I would have just died here. But then, after this, I get more careful and win the 1v1. As you may have imagined, I was relieved. Especially because now, I knew I pretty much won. Like, Chapter 16 is already considered to be much easier than the 2 Arcane chapters, but honestly, just watch. First fights, I can football the enemies, and also if I get hit I can run away, and I'm super safe to regen. Second fight, I can football the enemies. The third fight, you can football the enemies, and this is made even easier by the fact that you trigger the fight once you step up the stairs, so if I avoid doing that, I can also take time to explode the second wall to make sure I don't lose my ball. And then at the end, I finish the shield juggernaut on a safe spot. The fourth fight, there is some arcane bombers, and these fights are always easy for the reason you think, and also I can just run away if I get hit to regen. And the last fight is technically the hardest, but I mean, come on, there's arcane bombers again. And we make it to Chaos. Okay, so, as you know already, Kamo is very good against Chaos, but I was still slightly stressed out, since I knew there was still a scenario where I died here. So, I think I'm just going to shut up again. If the stakes were higher, it would have definitely been inside.
C'est le point de fer d'Arcus. Le profil est vulnérable. Tu n'as pas vraiment aimé ça, hein? Eh bien, tu vas pas aimer ça non plus.
Tu oses rire de moi?
No.
Je vais rire de toi, et je rirai plus fort.
Does the choice sound good?
Le revoilà, l'œil sur le point d'Arcus. Vise le quand il est exposé. Espérons qu'il ne se passe pas. Sans doute maintenant.
Qu'est-ce que c'est ça?
Yeah, that's literally
Que les choses changent.
Ultimate Nightmare! Kamo only! Ultimate Nightmare percent Kamo only!
Je vois ma
The fourth semi-official victor is about to take. It's W! I was kind of scared, but we're good. Unless the game crashes right now. Please just don't crash. Because my game sometimes crash here. Ultimate Nightmare! Percent Kamo only! It's done! 3 months of attempts. Almost like, yeah, like above plus 25 attempts. Cannot remember the official number, but plus 25 attempts. Okay, thank you for watching this video. Thank you for sticking till the end. It was very nice of you. And right now, as the credits will play, I would kind of like to just do the outro and kind of just talk about thoughts in my mind and etc. So, yeah, first of all, thank you for watching the video. I really hope you enjoyed it as much as it was fun for me to actually make it. because yeah, like this video was definitely like one of my biggest projects, like a 2-month grind for the video itself, not counting the 3-month grind for the challenge itself. Yeah, just what a grind, but also how much, like, what a fun grind too. Yeah, I just got a lot of fun from it, and I really hope too that you got a lot of fun watching this video. And second of all, so talking about the Ultimate Nightmare grind, I would definitely like to give a big shout out to Trash Guy Bob, of course, since I know technically Trash Guy Bob wasn't that big of a help, since it was mainly just emotional support at the start for me to actually make the grind. But it was still, of course, I would definitely 0% be joking if I said that if it was not for Trash Guy Bob, you would not see the video you're watching right now. You would not see the completed run. You would not see all the things. If it was not for all the emotional support that Trash Guy Bob gave me at the start, you would definitely, yeah, all this grind would have definitely not happened. Or at least I would definitely not think so if you just ignored me. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I would definitely like to thank him. And talking about emotional support and etc., I would definitely say, if you are interested to do Ultimate Nightmare after watching this video, first of all, I'm very happy I managed to make you feel that, because it was actually one of my objectives when making this video, to just make you want to do Ultimate Nightmare yourself, because yeah, it's really just a message. Just try Ultimate Nightmare yourself. Like, I know when Trash Guy Bob talked about me at first about this, he kind of just talked about how not a lot of people completed Ultimate Nightmare. Like, yeah, like on the leaderboards you can still see like there's only like 4 people who've actually completed Ultimate Nightmare, and I mean, of course there's like probably a little bit more from people that just haven't recorded the runs, or weird situations like my own situation. But still, like, just not a lot of people, even though it could be like so much more. So yeah, I would really invite you, if you want to do Ultimate Nightmare, whatever it's with maybe your favorite Skylander, if you think it is actually good enough to do the challenge, or maybe just with Sunburn, but maybe with options that were already done. I don't know. Whatever, I would really like to support you in your approach. Like, I know mainly Boombringer is trying right now to do Ultimate Nightmare with Gilgrunt, and yeah, just simple example, but yeah, I would definitely support him for that, and I would really hope he actually completes the run one day. And also, so yeah, kind of talking about it, I'm actually, yeah, talking about literal support. Like, yeah, if you're actually thinking about doing Ultimate Nightmare, then if you actually have questions, or if you want me to do some quick guide videos, then yeah, I would actually be glad to help. And so yeah, if you have questions like these, or if you want me to make videos like these, no problem. Yeah, just know I'm completely open to do this. And yeah, I think that's all I kind of had to say. So again, thank you for watching the video. I hope I interested you in making Ultimate Nightmare. I hope Ultimate Nightmare content will continue to live on, and that I'm a part of the chain. And yeah, just thank you for watching. See you tomorrow. See you Monday. Sorry.